Welcome to another round of our favorite new horror trailers, the best of what dropped last month. This month brings us another horror movie starring Georgina Campbell, a remake to a holiday 80s slasher, and finally a trailer for Scream 7. As always, everything we cover is linked below. Now, on with the trailers. Psycho Killer. A police officer tracks a killer after her husband, a highway patrolman, becomes one of his victims. Psycho Killer is written by Andrew Kevin Walker, who also wrote 7, 8mm, and Brain Scan. Psycho Killer stars Georgina Campbell, who you might remember from Barbarian and Lovely, Dark, and Deep, and also stars Malcolm McDowell, who you might remember from A Clockwork Orange and the Rob Zombie Halloween films. Psycho Killer releases February 2026. The two things that automatically drew me in to this particular trailer and this movie is, first off, it stars Georgina Campbell, who, as I've stated before, I am becoming a big fan of. She seems to pick some really interesting horror movies to star in, and I'm glad she's still doing horror movies and she's not trying to get out of it and do other things like romantic comedies and crap like that. I love that she's sticking to horror. The other thing that kind of drew me into this is not only is there a serial killer, but then there's also this satanic aspect to it. There's a couple of shots of newspaper clippings and they show things like satanic panic and all this kind of thing. There's a lot of devil worshiping imagery, if you would say, in this trailer. There definitely seems to be some kind of cult or something going on. Malcolm McDowell, and there's all these random people and they're wearing robes and things. And then there's this serial killer. So I'm not sure if the serial killer is part of the cult. He's got to be connected in some way, I'm assuming. I'm also assuming that this big muscular guy that they show towards the end of the trailer is our serial killer. I don't know who he is. I looked at his IMDb. I don't recognize him from anything, but he's pretty huge looking. So if little Georgina Campbell goes after this guy, she better be prepared for a fight. But in the end, this movie just looks really dark, and I'm kind of curious how dark it's going to be. How gory is it going to be? It does say it's rated R, so that's a plus. But let me know what you think. What do you think of this movie? What do you think of this trailer? Let me know. Silent Night, Deadly Night. A child witnesses his parents' murder by a man in a Santa suit. Years later, as an adult, he dons a Santa costume himself and embarks on a violent quest for retribution against those responsible for the traumatic event from his childhood. Silent Night, A Deadly Night stars Rowan Campbell, who you might remember as Corey Cunningham in Halloween Ends, and releases December 12th. So for those not in the know, this is a remake of the 1984 original Silent Night, Deadly Night. And based on this trailer, a lot of the kill scenes, so to speak, from the original Silent Night, Deadly Night seem to come over into this one. The most notable one being the impalement of the deer antlers on the wall. I know a lot of people kind of don't like this particular actor because of how bad Halloween Ends turned out to be. I just think, in my opinion, the script for Halloween Ends was absolutely atrocious. So I really have no bad things to say about Rowan Campbell. He's just an actor, so I can't blame him. In this trailer, he looks to be having a great time going around dressed as Santa, taking some people out. Obviously, I like this trailer because it just seems to be a old school slasher film. So I'm ready for this. Also, I'm just ready for another Christmas horror film. I feel like I just can't get enough of Christmas horror or Halloween horror or anything like that. So cannot wait for this. What do you guys think of this remake? Do you think it's dumb for them to do a remake of Silent Night, Deadly Night? Let me know. Let's talk about it. And lastly, we have Scream 7. When a new Ghostface killer emerges in the town where Sidney Prescott has built a new life, her darkest fears are realized as her daughter becomes the next target. Scream 7 is directed by Kevin Williamson, who was the writer for Scream 1, 2, and 4, and was also the writer of the original I Know What You Did Last Summer. This isn't his first movie directing, but it's his second. His first was Teaching Mrs. Tingle all the way back in 1999. Neve Campbell returns for Scream 7 as Sidney Prescott, and Courtney Cox returns as Gail Weathers. From the core four from Scream 6, we have Mason Gooding returning as Chad and Jasmine Savoy Brown returning as Mindy Meeks. Obviously missing the other two of the core four, but we'll move on. Also starring is Ethan Embry, Mr. Nick Papagiorgio himself, and most notably is the return of Matthew Lillard as Stu Macher. Scream 7 releases February 27th, 2026. I know that was a lot to get through, but it was just a lot of info to just get out there real quick before we start talking about this trailer. Obviously, this is a teaser trailer, but there is a lot of things in here to kind of dissect. One thing that I noticed right off the bat is Sidney's daughter is named Tatum, which, if you don't remember, is Rose McGowan's character's name in the original Scream. And I thought that was a really nice touch because they were best friends. So it's kind of cute that she named her daughter after her. I like the idea that the Stu Macher house has become a Airbnb and these people are going there to stay. From what I've seen online, the actual real house is an Airbnb. So it's kind of fitting to real life in a way. The whole scene that transpires in the trailer with the girl hanging on the chandelier and then she falls down and Ghostface rolls over with the knife, I thought was pretty awesome. So can't wait to see it all play out for real and not sped up in a 10-second clip. Based on the synopsis, it says that the Ghostface killer emerges in the town where Sidney Prescott has built her new life. I'm kind of curious where this new town is in relation to Woodsboro. How far away is she? Is she still in California? Is she somewhere else? So they didn't really touch on that. Also, is she going to go back to Woodsboro, or is this whole movie just going to take place where Sidney is now living? I also found it kind of funny that there's a shot of like Main Street of this little town that she lives in, and there's a car driving in. But if you look at the marquee on the movie theater behind them, it says Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I thought that was kind of cool. So there's a lot of talk online of how Matthew Lillard's character, Stu Macher, is going to be brought back in this movie. And it seems like one of the big theories that somebody made was that this new set of killers or new killer is going to use AI in some way to make Sidney and everyone think that Stu is back. Maybe send her videos and things like that. And it's Stu talking to her. And it's like, oh my God, Stu is back. But then you find out later that it's not really Stu, it's AI. And it's really just this guy named Doug or something. Personally, I really hope that's not how they're going to portray Stu in this movie. I think the whole AI thing is stupid. And I really just think there's so many other ways you could bring him back and have it be more of an impact. Because honestly, it's going to be an impact to Sidney seeing Stu. But when it's revealed that it's just AI, it's going to kind of lose its luster. Personally, I think it would be better to have that reunion of Sidney and Stu face to face and have him actually be a real flesh and blood person and not some AI crap on her phone. But that being said, I'm not exactly sure how you bring him back from the dead. And also, how do you explain why nobody has known that Stu has been alive this whole time? I mean, the classic movie trope is he never really died. His parents changed his name, or he went to a psycho ward somewhere. The state kept the records sealed and all that kind of crap. Here we are 30 years later. He escapes from a mental institution. Like, it's all that crap that you've heard of a million times. There has to be a more clever way to bring him back than to do these cliche type things. I'm just hoping that we have something clever and something awesome that brings Stu back, and it's better than just using AI. Because if it turns out to be AI, I am going to be upset. Back to the trailer. There's a shot at the end where this Ghostface is going to burn down the Stu Macher house, and seeing the Stu Macher house engulfed in flames is pretty wild. So cannot wait to see how that all turns out and what the heck is going on. It would make a lot of sense that it would be Stu himself coming back and saying, you know what, screw this, I'm burning the house down. That would be awesome. This being a teaser trailer, of course, everybody's expecting to see Stu in this movie, but they cleverly left him out of this trailer just to keep everyone guessing. And I'm pretty sure at the very end of this trailer, where the Scream 7 logo pops up on the screen, I'm pretty sure that it's Matthew Lillard's voice in the background, and he says, this is going to be fun. So I'm curious what he's referencing to. I like to believe that he's talking to Sidney and telling her that he's going to kill her or whatnot, and he's saying this is going to be fun. What do you guys think of Scream 7? What do you guys think of Matthew Lillard coming back? How do you think he's going to come back? Do you think it's going to be AI crap? Let me know. Let's talk about it. So once again, we had Psycho Killer with Georgina Campbell, satanic cult serial killer movie. We have the remake of the 1984 Silent Night, Deadly Night. What do you guys think of all its bloody holiday goodness? And of course, Scream 7, the return of Matthew Lillard. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Let's chat about it. But before you go, would you kindly subscribe? And maybe even slash that like button while you're there. Until next time.